Welcome to the Realness Required podcast. My name is Waldie.
I'm Erikka.
What are we talking about today, Erikka?
We're talking about our timeline as friends, how we met, kind of how we stayed in touch, how that then led us to wanting to do the podcast.
Take us back to 2007. That's when Erikka and I met. And we met working for the same company. I was transferring to Atlanta from Baltimore. And I was the new addition to her team. So she wasn't too thrilled about that. And
Correct.
Go ahead. You can do it from there.
So I found out that Waldie was coming to Atlanta and he was going to be joining my team. And for whatever reason, I just didn't like that. And I think it was because it was already a pretty good team. It was all women. And so I'm like, I don't want this guy joining our team. And, he's going to mess up the vibe. And we already work well together. And so I was very anti him coming to join our team. And so I already just didn't have a good feeling about him joining our team. I just didn't want it to happen. I didn't know what kind of person he was or anything like that. I just was just going off of that. What I thought it would change on our end, how I thought that would change. And I guess I just wasn't open to change. And maybe that was what the hesitation was. Yeah.
So, I'm going about my business. I didn't know she was like, oh, not checking for me. Yeah. And I'm just doing my thing. Like, hey, how's everything going? Yeah. Like, how was everybody's day? How's everybody's night? Like, at that age, I'm 20. I'm very optimistic. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I feel like the world is my oyster. I'm maybe a little naive, too, a little delusional. Yeah. But, I think, I was happy to be there, happy to, meet new people, etc. Yeah. And eventually, over time, I wore down whatever defenses you had against, like, maybe newcomers or me specifically, or being open to a friendship.
I guess, because when you first arrived, and they introduced you to the team, you seemed very nice. You seemed like you were open to joining a new team. And, after I saw how well you did fit in the team, as far as, you did your job pretty good and you gelled well with everyone else, I'm thinking, okay, he's okay. But I still didn't have that, oh, we're going to be friends. I just didn't see that. It took you actually kind of including me in things, because the rule was a rule that before 10, people didn't bother me. They didn't speak to me. They left me alone. I needed my coffee. I needed to take in the day for a minute. And then, okay, now we can speak to Erikka. And so when Waldie was introduced to the team, one of the other team members, they said, okay, this is Erikka. See, I didn't even speak. This is Erikka. And, she doesn't like to be, talked to before 10 o'clock. So we just respect her wishes and we talk to her after 10. Waldie is acting like he's okay with that. So we just assumed he was going to adhere to that. And that didn't happen. So I would say it might have taken him maybe a couple days. It wasn't long. It definitely wasn't a week. And he would come in and he would be his happy-go-lucky self. And he would ask everyone how their night was. And he would kind of go down the line and he would say to someone by name. And he got to me and he actually said, Erikka, so what did you do last night? And I'm like, no, he didn't say my name. So that's what I'm thinking in my head. And so I'm like, okay, I can't ignore him at this point because he actually said my name. So I'd better say what I did that night. So I kind of did that. And so that just became something, every day he would come in and he would ask. And then that just kind of turned into one day he was like, hey, Erikka, you want to go on break? And then that was kind of it, went on break. And then we start talking. And then every day that was just kind of like the routine.
So from there, because now we sit next to each other, we're going on break with each other, going to lunch with each other, you're more privy to what's going on in my life. Yeah. And at some point I start dealing with like relationship stuff and that being difficult. So then that brings us to this chapter in my life where I first explored like self-help books. Mm-hmm. And the first self-help book that I ever purchased, like first time I go into Barnes & Noble and go into the self-help section. First book I ever buy on the topic, which is funny given like the podcast, was The One. And I feel like that kind of set me on a path of self-discovery. Fast forward leads us to this podcast.
Yeah.
But it's just so interesting that we shared that moment together, like that, even discussing that book, going over like the chapters, and we wrote notes about like what that book was taking us through and relationships, etc. Like,
And The Secret.
And The Secret too.
Yeah.
And so then our relationship starts to develop one that centers around like self, like exploration and growth and wellness, all of that. And so then I'm only in Atlanta for a year. That seemed to be notable for you with your reaction.
Yeah, because I just assumed that because you were leaving, that was the end of our friendship. Because I'm looking at your age, you're 20, I was 30 by then. And so I'm 30, and I'm like, he's gonna meet other 20-year-olds, he's gonna go out partying, he's gonna, live it up when he gets back to Baltimore. He's not gonna call me, he's not gonna be checking for me. So I just figured that was the end of our friendship. So that is why I had the reaction that you didn't have. I actually cried when you left. And those tears were coming from a place that I just assumed I would never see you again. And I had never had a friend like you, because you were really into connecting with me. You were really into quality time with me as a friend. And I just never really had that. Usually friends that wanted to hang out, they wanted to hang out because I had something that they wanted. Like I had the car, or I had the means, the money, or something. Or I could do something for them. Yeah. So, but with you, that was very different. You just wanted to hang out. So I was going to miss that for one. But then I just didn't think I was going to see you again. Of course, that's not true. Because you kept in contact. Because again, you don't see things as I did. I didn't necessarily see things as energetic between you and I. I'm thinking I have to actually be around this person to remain friends with this person.
Distance would not define my connection. Like, the connection's already been made. Once the connection's been made, it doesn't go away.
Correct.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I know that now, but then it was very much so, I feel like I need to be around this person in order to maintain the friendship. So you did keep in contact, and you did give me reassurance in a way to say, no, we're friends. It doesn't matter if I'm in Baltimore or not. You're still my best friend, like literally. So I then felt the need to schedule time for us to actually see each other, because I felt like I needed to be in your presence. I feel like, and obviously that was a good thing to do, because when we've been around each other, I feel like really profound things have happened for us, realizations, all of that. So obviously that was necessary, but I had a strong feeling that I needed to actually be in your presence. So I just made it a point to, okay, I am going to go visit Waldie, whether it's once a year or whether it's once every 2 years, but I have to actually be in this person's presence.
And had you not done that, I would never have started a YouTube channel. That was your suggestion, that I start a YouTube channel. And
when I visited you,
when you visited me in 2013, you said, Waldie, I feel like you need to start a YouTube channel because people need to hear what you have to say.
Oh, yeah.
And I never thought of doing that. And I did it. And opportunities had come as a result of that. I was able to help a lot of people, especially a year, because that was the summer of 2013 that you said that. Yeah. So I had been doing it a year. Now it's summer of 2014. That's when I found out that I'm HIV positive. Immediately, 48 hours later, I put up a video talking about that experience of finding out. Yeah. And then a year after that, that video is doing like, well, the numbers are really high. Lots of people have seen it, who have discovered that they're HIV positive, reached out, helped a lot of people. Such a cool experience. Then 2015, they want to do Positively Aware, finds the video, wants to do a cover story about me in my first year's experience with HIV, being HIV positive. They do the article, I'm on the cover. And then that led to feeling inspired to do music. So it's like that arc that started back in 2013 because you had suggested I do YouTube, like, and now like we're here. It's really fascinating.
Yeah. And then 2017,
things kind of terminated as far as like my social media presence, because I kind of became, I personally felt confined to being like the HIV person, and I have to talk about HIV all the time. And I felt less a sense of self. I didn't feel like Waldie anymore online. I felt like I had to always talk about HIV. So I kind of terminated all that and deleted everything and took a break from social media. I probably took a break from social media all the way up through, I would say, 2022. So from 2017 to 2022, I was pretty much off social media. Obviously, in that time, the pandemic happened, so we wouldn't get a chance to see each other. I saw you before the pandemic. I didn't see you after the pandemic until you moved here. Until you visited here.
Yeah, I visited here.
And so that brings us to 2023.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're still keeping in touch. We're still talking on the phone all the time.
Oh, yeah. And if we missed and we haven't talked to each other 2 or 3 months, 4 months, when we do talk to each other, it's 3-4 hour conversations, and it's just like we just picked up where we left off at.
Right.
And you're just giving me an update. That's really pretty much what it is. Or I'm giving you an update. That's pretty much what it is. And so in 2023, which at the beginning of 2023, I got that feeling that Atlanta was no longer going to be where I lived. I'm like, for whatever reason, this feels like this place has expired to me. There is nothing here. I have outgrown this place. There is nothing here for me anymore. And so I already knew in January that I was going to move. I had no idea where I was going to move. And I planned my trips very far in advance, like sometimes a year. I said, I know I'm going to be going to at least 4 places. So maybe I'll get an idea of where I want to live after I visit those 4 places. Or it just may be somewhere that I've already visited, because I've visited most of the states in the United States. So I was like, maybe it'll be Florida or something, because I've been there and I like it. So maybe it'll be Florida, or maybe it'll be this place. And so I was just trying to think of all of these places that I could stay. And then I remember telling Waldie that I just really felt like I wanted to move. And he talked about me coming to visit in Hawaii. So I was like, okay. I was like, yeah.
Because at that point I had lived there a year.
Yeah. Yes.
So I felt, oh yeah, come out here. I mean, me and my partner at the time had the means to allow you to stay with us for an extended period of time, and your company was allowed you, because you could work remote, allowed you the flexibility to be able to stay that amount of time, which was around 3 weeks, right?
Yeah. So when I came, we had already planned. I was going to stay with Waldie, and I was going to stay at least 2 weeks. I didn't know it was going to turn into 3, but I'm like, I'm going to stay 2 weeks, see how I feel, and if I want to stay longer, we'll stay longer. And so I got here, very welcoming, him and his partner. They had everything planned out for me. I had an excellent time. And being here just felt right for me. Of course, I still didn't want to make a decision like, oh my gosh, it is Hawaii. Like, because I had said to myself, I want to go everywhere that I plan to go first and then make a decision. But I very strongly knew when I left that it was going to be Hawaii, only because when I left, I actually missed being here. And I've been a lot of places. I've traveled a lot, and I've never missed being anywhere. I may say, oh, I'll come back and visit, but I didn't actually miss it. Like most times I'm ready to go home, but I wasn't ready to go home, and I actually missed here when I left. And so I knew, okay, that's something.
Sure.
That's
Something's
something.
pulling me there.
Yeah. So I'm like, but I had already made the decision, like I said, to go everywhere. And so I still had my trip to Puerto Rico. And when I went there, it was nice. And I could see myself living there. But what was something that I was like, oh no, I cannot, is that it rained. And it wasn't even a huge storm. It just rained for a few hours. Maybe it was the length of how long it rained or something. But the power went out. And the power was out like on multiple blocks. And our hotel was without power. A hotel now. They should have generators.
So the infrastructure
yeah,
is not
so it was not there. So I'm like, I'm not trying to be nowhere where it just rained a little bit and we just have no power for a day. So I'm like, maybe Puerto Rico is not it for me. So I had made my decision very quickly after that, after I got back. And I'm like, Hawaii is what it is. But just because of the feeling that I had, like I said, while I was here and then when I left, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be back in Hawaii as soon as possible. So I just made the decision. When I got back from Puerto Rico in October. And I'm sure I called you. Okay. And I was like, oh, I've made my decision. It's definitely going to be Hawaii. And I let my landlord know that I was not going to be renewing my lease. And then I started making plans to sell all my stuff. And then I started looking for a place here.
And then you found a place pretty easily.
I did.
And you moved January 2024. And at that time, my relationship with my ex, who you stayed with, terminated by that point, a month before you had moved. It was kind of like a new start for me in a way in Hawaii, where I wasn't. He was the reason why I moved here in August of 22, and so there was an association there. So I associated Hawaii with him from the time that I moved here. So January 2024, I actually feel like, oh wow, now I'm having my own new experience of Hawaii. Even though there's a familiarity, it's different when it feels like now it's my own experience. And at that same time, you had just moved here. So it's almost like we were both entering like a new phase of life in a way.
Yeah.
Like at the same time.
Oh, yeah. When I got here, I could just see a difference in you. You had like this glow. Like, it was like my old friend was back, you know? Like,
that you didn't see when you had visited.
Correct. That I didn't see when I had visited. Because it was just some other stuff going on at the time in your life. But, you know, like, once I got here, though, in January, oh, you were on point, honey. Oh, we was living life, honey.
Girl.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And so that version of you is the version I've always known. And so he was back.
Yes.
And so, yeah. So, but I feel like since I've been here, we've just continued to grow. It's not like we're staying stagnant. It's not like, oh, we're just being friends and hanging out all the time and going, just doing stuff together.
And watching shows.
Yeah, and watching shows and talking about them. You know, we're not doing that. No. You know, we continue to read books. We continue to look at self-help stuff or spiritual stuff on YouTube.
Which is what we've done from day one.
Oh, yeah. Correct.
Like, it's so fascinating. I mean, of course it would be that way between us.
Correct.
It's always been that.
But the thing that we're leaving out that we didn't point out is that over the course of the time we've been friends, when we're out together and we communicate, people are drawn to that in a way.
So when you take two people that are operating in authenticity, that are individually glowing, and you put them together, it's like it acts as like a multiplier. So I feel like people are like, what is going on over there?
Yeah.
What are they talking about? They are so animated and they're so engaging and buoyant and you know.
But it's intriguing to them because people will literally stare at us while we're while we're talking. They will stop what they're doing and stare. Or they will interject and say, oh my gosh, y'all are hilarious. Or we would love to be your friends. Or, one guy said he wanted to take me home. He wish he could take me with him. So just stuff like that. Or we're walking down the street, we're just having a conversation. Someone walking past us will interject and be like, I know that's right, girl. And try to get in our conversation.
And that started since the time that you got here.
Yeah. When I got here and I went to go get a car, the guy at the dealership wanted to be our friend. He was like, oh my gosh, I want to hang out with you guys so bad. He was like, can you give me a call? And he gave us his number probably 3 times. And we were like, we know your number. Thank you. You gave us a card. We have your number. Trust me.
We do.
But we usually get that type of reaction from people. So Waldie was like, friend, I think we are supposed to be doing something.
And the something revealed itself.
Yeah.
But I think we knew that this time has to be pretty meaningful for us to be in each other's orbit geographically. We're no longer just connected energetically. It is essential that we are together. Why are we together right now? It is not by coincidence. It's not by chance. Now, if energetically we were a match in physical separation or there being physical distance geographically, now the energy requires us to be in each other's orbit in close proximity to each other.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
That was something that we were like, what is that about?
Yeah.
And it's something that we didn't necessarily obsess or get frustrated about or frustrated over. It was more curiosity. We've always known that our friendship, there's something about our friendship that has not been tapped into yet, that it's almost like
Correct.
There's going to come a point where we have to tap into that. We're just not sure what that is and, or how it's going to manifest.
It's a reason that we're friends.
Yes.
And it's a reason why we remain friends. And I always thought it was, I've always known Waldie needed to be in the public eye. I just always knew that. But I thought that I would be more so in the background. I've always played that role where I'm in the background. So I thought I would just be assisting him while he's out in the public doing his thing, and I would be in the background assisting him. He saw something very different.
Yeah, so I had noticed when we would discuss relationships, I started putting 2 and 2 together, that in order for you to be seen by whomever your person is, you have to allow yourself to be seen. And if you're in the background, no one will see you. So once I understood that, it was like, what is the opportunity going to be for Erikka to be seen? And now putting that together with how people were reacting to us in public when we were together, just chatting, just being ourselves, getting these reactions from folks, that's when the idea of the podcast came up, because I'm like, we're literally just chatting and being ourselves, and people want to know what's happening, what's going on.
They want to be included.
They want to be included. Yeah. So I'm like, that allows you to be seen, which I think will be your path to finding your person, or literally your person finding you, because you're putting yourself out there for them to find you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, it's getting you outside your comfort zone. Oftentimes when oh, I'm afraid to do that thing, that's the thing I should do.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt like it was a little bit of that. And there's something about us together. And if we were both already thinking, there's a reason why we're in each other's orbit and proximity this way now at this time this year, maybe it's that. And then, as we started to explore the idea of a podcast, confirmation after confirmation started happening that was like effortless. That, yes, this is what you need to do. And maybe you can speak to that, your own experience of that.
Oh, yeah. Because I kind of mentioned it to a couple of people, like close friends or family. And the same kind of happened for you, but just mentioning it, people like, oh my gosh, yes, you should do that. Because I'm already the one that's given the advice. Or I'm already the one that people are coming to anyway. So they like, oh my goodness, yes, you should do that. I absolutely see you doing a good job, in a podcast. And the same kind of happened for you when you were telling people. They were like excited about looking at the podcast. And I feel like if we weren't supposed to do that, the reaction wouldn't have been, they might have just been like, oh, okay, that's good. But it wouldn't have been the excitement behind it. Like, we can't wait to see this podcast.
Correct.
Honey.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was no resistance as we took step after step in that direction.
Yeah.
There was only confirmation from people that we would tell.
Yeah.
And as we would come up with ideas, it's like the ideas came up so effortlessly.
Yeah,
so there was like zero resistance. So I think that speaks to when you are operating with such authenticity and you are following your intuition without haste. And when you're following your intuition immediately, you're getting into harmony immediately. You're operating from authenticity that you can hear the call or you can hear when there's like a purpose to answer it.
Oh, yeah.
Once we had the light bulb moment, should we be doing a podcast? It was like, yes.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like, yes, you should. Yes, you should. Yes, you should.
Yeah.
This person's going to say it. This person's going to say it. This person's going to help you.
And we've received help. I mean, and even, I think I told you about this where, and this has never happened to me. And if it has, I absolutely don't remember it. But I woke up and immediately upon waking up, I had like this urgency to like wrap up the things for the podcast. And remember I told you I was like getting ideas and it was like just coming to my head immediately upon waking up. Like before I did anything, I just literally opened my eyes and I started just getting ideas and saying, okay, you need to do this. You need to do this with the podcast. Make sure you do this today. And so I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing stuff for the podcast. And on the weekend, that's my weekend, honey. I'm not trying to do no work.
And we're talking about the girl who do not talk to her before 10 a.m.
Correct.
Because she needs to gather herself for the day.
Correct. And I just don't even want to do anything on the weekend but like fun stuff. Like, and this is like work stuff a little bit to me. And so I'm like, oh, this is what's happening this morning?
Which is kind of like divine inspiration.
Exactly. It was like an immediate thing. Like, let's do this right now. Like, this is what you have to do. Don't plan anything else. Don't go anywhere else. This is what you have to do and in this order. And as soon as I got up, I said my prayers. I, washed my face, did all that stuff. And then I went immediately to the computer, started doing the wrap-up stuff for the podcast, and did everything that I needed to do that I was told in order to do.
And it didn't feel forced. It felt just divinely inspired.
Felt just
fine.
To do it. Yeah, felt just fine. I still had the rest of the day after I finished. Still had the rest of the day to do what I wanted to do. But I'm glad that I moved on that and got that out of the way because things just happen with such ease. Remember I told you that the woman at the state, when we were registering the business and stuff, she called me and she said, well, I think you may have made a mistake on when you were filling out the form and maybe you meant to do this. And she said, so I'm going to send you a corrected form. It's no problem. We're going to do this. And then we're going to have and I'm like, friend, people here are just so nice. Like if I was in Atlanta, no one is calling you, telling you messed up on a form. You just won't you just won't get your business registered. That's what's going to happen.
You're going to be calling them.
Oh, yeah.
And
You're going to be calling them saying,
Yeah.
well, what happened to my application? They're going to say, well, girl, you filled that out wrong. That's your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
But, she called me. She walked me through the steps. She gave me the corrected application. And then she said, don't worry about it. She said, as soon as I get in, on Monday, this was a Friday, I think it was. She was like, as soon as I get in on Monday, we'll get everything corrected and you'll get the certificate of registration. She did everything she said she's going to do.
Her direct number.
She gave me her direct number. I mean, who giving you their direct number now?
I know, especially at the state.
Yeah. Correct, honey.
Like, girl, we ain't trying to get no
So
calls.
that's what I'm saying with ease. Like, if this is something that's meant, no stumbling blocks are going to come up.
So I think a good point related to this whole story about how this podcast has taken shape is the fact that I can speak for me, and if we are in each other's orbit, I think I can speak energetically about you as well. We are operating at such a level of authenticity and truth that if you believe that you have a purpose or if you have a calling, you have to be in a state of alignment, of harmony, of truth, of authenticity, to be able to hear when you're called to do something. And I think at some point, and I don't remember exactly when it was, but it felt like after the idea of the podcast came and the confirmation started coming in that this is what we need to do, it felt like we're being called to do this. We don't know what's supposed to happen as a result or what's going to happen as a result. We just know we need to do this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thankful that we could receive that enough to know to act on it. And I think this kind of, whether you want to hear it or not, I think people are focused on their calling or their what their purpose is when you're not in a place to receive that information just yet.
Yeah.
You're not ready. I feel like you have to be operating using your intuition, following your intuition, understanding that it is a GPS leading you to your path, putting you on the path you're supposed to be on. And if you follow it, you will be able to hear your calling because you're operating you are glowing. You are emitting a frequency of like, there are no obstacles between me and what is for me. You're not living a lie. You're living in truth. That means if you're living in truth, truth will find you. What's yours will find you.
Yeah.
If you not acting how you need to be acting, then it can't find you. If you're living a lie, what's for you can't find you. It's still trying to unravel the fact that you're lying to yourself.
Yeah, you're hidden at that point.
Yeah. It's like if you keep on rejecting the directions that the GPS is telling you, girl, you're so far off track. Like, just get kind of back to where you kind of need to be before you're worried about what this destination is. Cool. And I feel like so often people are worried about this destination as far as what their calling is when we need to start work on ourselves so that when our calling comes in, like literally like the phone call comes in, like, this is what you need to be doing, we can actually answer it.
Oh, yeah.
People can't answer it right now because they can't hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think if I didn't have the faith that I have, then I probably would have been hesitant only because of the type of person that I am. I'm not a social media person. I really don't want to put myself out there kind of thing. But when I got the confirmation, I'm like, okay, Erikka, this is bigger than you at this point. So this is something that you have to do. And that is going to involve putting yourself out there. Okay, well, I guess I got to get ready then. I didn't want to do it, but I guess I got to get ready because that's what I'm doing. And then, therefore, that's what birthed the podcast.
I think what made it feel like a calling, because the idea comes in, we should do a podcast. It felt like a calling once we started seeing the response from other people.
Oh, yeah.
Once we started seeing, like,
the need
for it. So you guys know, our mission statement that, was a part of the creation of the podcast as we were developing and all these ideas were coming in. Erikka and I sat together to figure out what our mission statement would be. And what we came up with is, it's going to make me cry, because it's for real, to awaken the curiosity that creates an authentic and harmonious existence. We're not telling you, our intention is not to tell you what to think, not to tell you what path to follow, not to tell you that there's a right way or a wrong way. We just want you to know that being open, being curious, and allowing yourself to be open and curious to knowing more, to experiencing more, is going to open up that potential for you to live a more authentic and harmonious life.
Yes. And
you just need to open the door and walk through. It's experimentation after experimentation. It's one step outside your comfort zone after the next. It's not this take step 1 through step 12 and you're there. It's not like that. It's just be curious enough to find out that it can be more.
Yes.
And there is an inner wisdom or a higher self wisdom. There is a wisdom that is coming through you to you, that if you pay attention to it, you will not be steered wrong.
Correct. And then doing the work on yourself, not worrying about other people, not worrying about how they're doing over how you're doing. Because I feel like a lot of people worry about other people and they don't take the time to worry about and work on themselves. Do the work. Actually pick up a self-help book. Meditate. Actually go on YouTube and look at some self-help stuff or some inspirational stuff or some spiritual stuff. Go outside of your comfort zone. And you'll be surprised where it takes you. You really will. You'll be surprised.
And I know that like I said, we don't know we know we're supposed to be doing this podcast. Oh, yeah. That's all we know. So we're just doing the podcast because we were supposed to be doing the podcast.
Correct.
People were very curious what we're saying when we're just talking about sunglasses in the sunglass store. But it seems like, but to also touch on people needing this at this time, I guess. Obviously, we're filming this. Obviously, people are from different countries that could be listening in or watching, and there's all sorts of geopolitical stuff going on. But I think there's something about our mission statement that is essential for this time. I'm not sure if it's to counteract a more divisive and destructive intention that's out there. And that's why it's so important that we center conversations around this intention and message. But it's coming from a place of we don't have anything that y'all don't have.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. We're not better than y'all. We just have more practice. And what we're saying is have enough curiosity, awaken that. We hope the conversations that we have awaken that curiosity to take those steps outside your comfort zone. Yeah. And that'll be your practice. Let's see what happens if I follow my intuition. Let's see what happens.
If I tell the truth.
Yeah.
So
thank you for watching.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
All right. Bye, guys.